Hello, and welcome to Nostalgia Marcana. I'm your host, Doug Leaf. Each episode of this podcast, we'll look back on the movies, TV, games, people, and phenomena that we still love talking about all these years later, and ask ourselves why these bits of pop culture still enchant us today. This week, we'll be revisiting Isaac Newton's 3 Laws of Motion, Asimov's 3 Laws of Robotics, and perhaps best known, of course, are the 3 laws for proper care of your mogwai. Today we are talking about the 1984 film Gremlins, a film that is, I thought was a horror movie as a kid, and of course figured out later it was a satire piece. And, of course, a non-traditional Christmas movie. So there's lots to enjoy about this little flick. We're going to get into all of it. But I am not doing it alone because someone got me wet before this happened. And now we have 2 bald podcasters here today. So I've got my buddy here. He is, of course, a performer at the West Side Comedy Theater. You can find his teaching at Rich Baker Coaching. Welcome back to the podcast, Rich Baker.
Thank you, Doug. We do this so often, they're going to say it's love of nostalgia.
Yeah, I was going to say you're becoming the. If this was SNL, you're Steve Martin now.
I'm honored. I'm honored to be your Steve Martin, sir. I love this. I love this stuff. I listen to your episodes I'm not on. I love what you do.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad you're here because you suggested this topic, and again, such an easy, fun topic to pick. Like, what a great movie! Can you tell us a little about why you wanted to do Gremlins?
You know, it's one of those movies that, again, kind of like in the tradition of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles we talked about before, where once I saw it as a kid, I just never stopped watching it. Like, I rewatch it every Christmas, basically. And I love it. There's something about it that speaks to me, you know, and it's ironic. It's got so many ties to It's a Wonderful Life, which is, you know, very much a staple stereotype of the Christmas rewatch. But for me, Gremlins is like, that's my Christmas movie.
You know, I don't have a Christmas movie. I am Jewish, so, you know, I don't have that emotional tie to Christmas, but there's plenty of about Christmas I love. And this movie is one of them, partially because it is so off the beaten path for normal Christmas movies. But you can't divorce this movie from Christmas. The whole thing is, it's set at Christmas. It's full of Christmas music. As you mentioned, It's a Wonderful Life is like prominently featured. You know, there's so much Christmas embedded into this thing. And I was thinking about that too as I watched it. And I thought, you know, if they had not set this around a holiday, if it had just been taking place in June, would it still be a good movie? And I think it would still be a good movie. There's a lot here, but it's like putting it at Christmas just adds this wonderful extra flavor to the movie.
Yeah.
It gives you so much more to work with. Like, there's something just fun about making this at Christmas.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm not a fan of just, like, set your movie at a big holiday just to do it, but I agree with you. Like, it's embedded in the plot. It makes sense with the message underneath it all, like... And it just, that, again, as you said, that flavor that mixes with the horror and the comedy and the Christmas is just like, there's something real nice about it.
I'm sure there was a studio note somewhere where someone said, like, why isn't it set at Halloween? And,
sure.
like, I think that would not have been additive. That would have been redundant to make it Halloween. Like, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Because the movie, as we'll probably talk about later, has a lot to do with commercialism and, like, you know, the industrial age and things like that. And so, like, what is more commercial than Christmas?
Yeah, there's a lot to get into here because there is this other fun wavelength that the movie's operating on, in addition to just being a good popcorn flick. That we'll definitely get into all of that. Do you remember the first time you saw it?
I don't remember specifically, but I would have been very young, and it would have been on HBO.
Oh, it's not TV.
Yeah. My parents, my dad was very much an early adopter of HBO, and so we had it as a kid. I watched like Tales from the Crypt and all that, and so if a movie was one of those that HBO reran a lot, I probably watched it a lot, and this was absolutely one of them.
Yeah, I don't remember the first time I saw this movie. I'm sure I was too young for it.
Yep.
And I definitely think that, I mean, as a kid, I believed it was a horror movie. And it was a horror movie that I remember had entertaining, silly elements to it. But I was way too young to figure out that, oh, okay, the Joe Dante, the director, and Chris Columbus, the writer, they're working on, this other thing that they're trying to do as a satire or kind of spoofing things. So yeah, I just thought I was like, oh, I'm getting away with watching a horror movie, which in reality, like, oh, it's a horror movie, but it's not a very scary one. There's horror elements, but it's more comedy than you think.
Yeah, but I got to give it credit for really kind of adapting to multi-genres, because the elements that are horror feel very horror. The science teacher and the Mrs. Peltzer fight particularly, they feel very much in that vein, like, oh, they nailed it without winking at the camera. They just did that genre.
Yeah, it's really interesting. They kind of hide their light under a bushel, because a lot of the movie does play like a horror movie. And they're not quite letting you in on the comedy just yet. And the comedy actually comes, it's more, backloaded toward the end of the movie when the Gremlins are running wild. Then it really gets into some Looney Tunes shit. And It's like, oh, okay, the part of the movie that should be the scariest is actually kind of the silliest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe this would be a good time to talk about kind of some of the antecedents to this movie. Because there's a lot of stuff, like, as I was watching it, I'm like, oh, without name checking any of these things, the inspiration is really obvious once you kind of know what these are. But like, for example, did you ever heard of a story called Pigs is Pigs?
Mm-mm.
Okay, some people might know this because Disney made a little like 8 or 9 minute short of this in, I think, the 50s. I certainly remember I saw this growing up, this Disney short, and this is like one of these like early stories of like the thing that multiplies till it's a big problem. And so it's a story about a guy who works at a railway station. He's very, very by the books. And one day he gets a shipment of 2 guinea pigs. And the guy who they're for comes to pick them up. And the guy is he's so by the book, he pulls out the rate sheet and it says pets are 44 cents and pigs are 48 cents. And he says, well, it says guinea pigs. They're pigs, therefore 48 cents. And the other guy says, no, they're pets. They're not pigs. It's 44 cents. And so the guy says, well, I have no choice. I have to contact the home office and find out, are these classified as pigs or pets? And you'll just have to come back for your pigs when I get the answer.
Supervisor's office, Pigtown on the Drive. Flannery to Morgan, May 6, 1905. Holding 2 animals in a crate. Big dispute regarding rate. Is a guinea pig a pig or pet? Give ruling on the rate to set. Flannery.
The supervisor's office was the pride of the company. It received old Flannery's telegram with trained efficiency.
They examined the wire and immediately dated it, stamped the receipts, and then communicated it to the department that quadruplicated it. Copies were sent out to all of the staff. Each copy received was filed and related to copies of copies, then checked and notated. 9 copies of each were then validated, and contents were noted in ink on a graph.
And so he radios or telegrams the home office, which sets off this like chain of like bureaucracy. So while he's waiting to hear back, the guinea pigs are multiplying, comedically out of control, just like piles of them. They're everywhere. But at the home office, the bureaucracy is multiplying out of control because they keep, they have to talk to this department and generate forms, and those forms have to go to other departments and they generate more forms, and the thing keeps spiraling out of control. And I thought this is a really neat antecedent for this because you on the one hand you have like the literal problem of like, hey, there's too many guinea pigs to know what to do with, and then you have the other thing which is like, but we're kind of making fun of how fucked up the machine is, right? Of society. Yeah. So that was one thing I thought of, is like this, that has to be an inspiration that feeds into this.
Oh yeah, I didn't know anything about that. That's cool.
Go check out the Disney short. It's mildly racist, but still pretty funny and well put together. There's two other things I was thinking of, and these I bet you probably do have experience with. The first one is The Trouble with Tribbles.
That sounds familiar.
Star Trek episode.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never seen it, but I've heard people talk about it.
Yeah, this is same thing. That basically the crew of the Enterprise docks somewhere. Uhura brings on this little fur ball that then multiplies to the point where it's, again, going to cause a crisis within the ship.
They seem to be gorged.
Gorged? On my grain? Kirk, I am going to hold you responsible. There must be thousands of them.
Hundreds of thousands.
1,771,561. That's assuming one tribble, multiplying with an average litter of 10, producing a new generation every 12 hours over a period of 3 days.
And that's assuming that they got here 3 days ago.
And allowing for the amount of grain consumed and the volume of the storage compartment.
Kirk, you should have known. You are responsible for turning the development project into a total disaster.
Mr. Barris.
And I am through being intimidated, Kirk. You have insulted me. You have ignored me. You've walked all over me. You have abused your authority, and you have rejected my requests. And this is a result. I am going to hold you responsible,
Mr.
Kirk.
Barris, I'll hold you in irons if you don't shut up.
And the little fur balls, the tribbles, look exactly like those little fur balls that pop out of Gizmo.
Oh, very cool.
So I thought that was worth talking about. And then one more thing to talk about is, of course, the concept of gremlins themselves, which are sort of name-checked by Futterman in the movie.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, just this idea that, they're these, like, impish sprite demon things that are used in technology, particularly in World War II, to take down the Allies, like put them in their planes and stuff like that.
I love it as a folklore explanation, a modern folklore explanation for glitches, which I looked at actually goes all the way back to World War I. That as soon as we had planes that we were flying in war, the pilots were complaining about weird shit going on with the planes, and this was their way of trying to come up with an explanation for what was wrong with the aircraft. Yeah, we should talk about Shatner though, right? We got to talk about the Twilight Zone episode.
Oh sure, the gremlin on the plane.
Yeah. Nightmare at 20,000 feet, it's called.
Yeah.
And remade very well with, they swap out John Lithgow for Shatner in the Twilight Zone movie, which I believe Joe Dante, who directed this, worked on.
Yes. And Spielberg, of course, who produced it.
Yeah. I love the concept of Nightmare at 20,000 feet, which it's so simple. It's just literally this man is, thinks he's going crazy because he keeps seeing this monster out on the wing of the airplane that's like messing with the wires and stuff, and you just watch this guy come unglued over the course of 15 minutes.
Bob, is it the storm? Does it bother you?
No, honey, you remember what I told you before about seeing something outside?
Yes.
Julia, there's a man out there. I don't mean a man, I mean I don't know what I mean. I mean, maybe what do they call them during the war? The pilots? Gremlins. Gremlins. You remember the stories in the... Julia, don't look at me like that.
Bob.
I am not imagining it. I'm not imagining it. He's out there. Don't look. He's not there now. He jumps away whenever anyone might see him. Except me.
Yeah, no, that's one of the best episodes, at least one of the most iconic.
The Simpsons did it for Treehouse of Horror, so it's famous.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and the other thing that Gremlins kind of that came before it, I think, is vampires, right? Like, they have these rules about vampires, what you can and can't do, and, you know, Gremlins were like, and they, of course, share the sunlight rule, like, sunlight kills them.
Yeah, that's a good point to raise. Like, more so than any other horror creature, the vampire is, like, the most known for its rules, because there's a lot of rules for it. It's like baseball. There's too many rules. Vampires, as opposed to, like, say, like, you know, one or two for a werewolf or some other creature. But yeah, those three rules are so. I mean, it's why I kicked off the podcast with them. Like, that's the first thing you think of when you think of Gremlins are those three rules. So that's probably a good place to start talking about the movie itself, because that is where the movie starts.
Yeah, and Chinatown.
Yeah, it's like the Chinatown out of Blade Runner too. Like, it's real neon and rainy.
Yeah, a lot of mist.
Yeah, I like this opening. It's interesting to revisit it because it is so, like, you get that narration from Mr. Peltzer, kind of like as if he was sort of narrating the story, which is funny because he says, like, you know, I'm going to tell you my story, and he's actually gone for most of it.
Yeah, I've always wondered about that. Like, is he telling us like a secondhand version, or it was, you know, like what's the symbolism there?
I wonder if it was just like a narrative convenience of, like, because I know there was an earlier opening scene that they cut, and I think that to try and move things along, they're like, we'll just have him start in Chinatown, and we'll deliver a little narration to fill in what he's doing there.
He's got such a great voice. I know everyone's got a story, you know, and you're just like, ooh, I'm settling in. Let's watch this.
Yeah, he comes in like, he looks like he's like a cross between like the guy who runs the saloon in the Old West and like a hard-boiled detective. The actor's name is Hoyt Axton, and he's just got that like wonderful drawl, this like really Texas-y drawl that puts you at ease. I'm like, oh, this guy is, you know, he's going to tell you a tale.
Yeah, exactly. And then the first thing you actually hear him in dialogue is doing a sales pitch.
Well, he's the classic 80s wacky inventor type.
Yeah, and mixed with that, you know, door-to-door salesman type.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, usually the 80s wacky inventor type, it's more like, I think of like Data from the Goonies or Doc Brown.
Sure.
You know, there's so many of them. I don't know why there were so many of these in the 80s, other than maybe it was a response to like Ron Popeil. But it was like, damn it, we need more Rube Goldberg machines. You know, somebody's got to be making Rube Goldberg machines.
Wouldn't it be nice to drink a hot cup of coffee on the way to work each morning? But you can't, because ordinary cups spill. Introducing Auto Cup by Ronco, the amazing no-spill cup. Just press the lever and drink. Release it and it's automatically sealed. Auto Cup's carrying strap makes it great for golfers, bikers, skiers, boaters, even truckers. Auto Cup by Ronco, a great Christmas gift, and it's only $4.99.
But his inventions are so like relatively down to earth. Like, do you have a favorite of his? I mean, he talks about the bathroom buddy a bunch, but there's others in the movie that are all kind of entertaining.
I mean, my favorite as far as the funniest has got to be the smokeless ashtray because of how much smoke it is. It's a comical amount of smoke. And it's funny because the first thing, the bathroom buddy, he talks about dragon breath. They show you the dragon. And then at the end, the smokeless ashtray is fuming smoke like a dragon. There's a lot of like tie-ins like that in this movie.
I like that one. I think my favorite is the juicer. Because, we watch Billy try to make orange juice with this thing, and he puts in one pretty small orange, and the amount of juice that shoots out of this thing, it's like, 5 gallons worth of juice out of one tiny orange. It's, it's clearly just a joke, but it's, to me, I just found that very funny. Of like, not just there's juice everywhere, but like it's still going from this one little orange.
Yeah. And you didn't have to peel it either. And then the egg thing, it would crack the eggs for you. I'm like, none of this even works in concept, guys. What are we talking about?
Yeah, I think they have to give the mom a line about like, well, they work for the first few weeks.
Yeah.
But that kind of ties back into the Gremlins thing, right? Like, there's literally like, old school electrical glitch gremlins in all of his machines. They don't work.
Yeah.
But that ties into the other thing that we were I think we were heading towards, which is the commercialism angle. And him trying to sell these machines that don't work, and then we've got this issue with kind of American paranoia in the 80s about people from Asia and their effect on the economy. I'll throw it to you to kind of fill in kind of that gap.
Yeah, it was just this, like China and Japan, different places were making so much. And so there was a big, there was kind of a push from parts of the U.S., to be like, made in the USA kind of stuff. But because they could make it cheaper over there, then it was just inevitable. And, what happened was the market share went so much over there. But this movie is specifically talking about that paranoia of people having of like, well, once go our markets, then go the rest of the world. Like it's like that they're trying to take over like some kind of evil overlord or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole movie obviously is about this fear of an invasion, right? Things taking over, and and it literally, of course, the mogwai is literally a creature from Asia that comes and multiplies. You've got the sort of very stereotypical Chinatown that they find him in, which is not the kindest portrayal, let's say, of Asian Americans. Pretty stereotyped stuff. And also, like, as Futterman talks about, like his view of Asian product is that they are all cheap crap. But there's nothing in the movie to support that, because all of the American products we see in the movie are cheap crap.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that like subtle narrative, juxtaposition of what they're saying isn't actually what's happening that you're seeing, kind of thing.
Yeah. Do you know the non-canonical origin of the mogwai? Have you ever seen one of these like BuzzFeed articles about this?
No.
Okay. So this is from the novelization of the Gremlins movie. So not to be considered canonical, but in the novelization, they were created by a scientist on an alien planet, and they were to be, gifts to help teach different races about peace and harmony. But they didn't work right because only 1 in 10,000 ends up with like Gizmo's nonviolent personality, and the rest are all monsters and turn into worse monsters and everything else. So, but that was his explanation. There's all kinds of weird shit in that book if you want to go Googling, but yeah, weird shit. But this is where we meet Gizmo, sort of. You don't see much of him, but we get our introduction to these rules as this little boy sells it behind his grandfather's back.
Okay, mister. Here it is.
All right. What about your grandfather?
Forget what he said. He's crazy. We need the money. Now, come on. You want it or not?
I want it.
Look, mister. There's 3 rules you've got to follow.
Yeah, what kind of rules?
Keep him out of the light. He hates bright light, especially sunlight. It'll kill him. And keep him away from water. Don't get him wet. But the most important rule, the rule you can never forget, no matter how much he cries, no matter how much he begs, never feed him after midnight. You got it?
Sure, kid. Whatever you say. Hey, listen, thanks. And have a Merry Christmas.
Of course, we all know them. No bright lights, especially sunlight. Don't get them wet, and don't feed them after midnight. And don't put any thought into dissecting those rules, because no, they don't make any kind of sense. But just let it be, right? Just let it be.
Yeah, the amount of internetograms spilled over trying to nitpick those rules is extreme. Yeah. Like, people go nuts about, well, how long after midnight can you feed them? I always just intuited that it was at sunup that you could feed them again. But
my view on it is, who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for the movie. But yeah, I mean, you're probably right. It's probably sunup or something. Who knows?
I've seen people get real wrapped around the axle about the water thing of like, well, is it pure water? If they drink apple juice, is that okay? Or like, we see them eating chicken, and like, any living matter is going to be like 80% water. If you take one to Florida, does the humidity make them reproduce? I mean, you can play that game forever, and it's like, as you said, the correct answer is who gives a shit, because it's a fun movie.
Yes.
They are. I think even in the sequel, they do start calling out some of that stuff and making fun of it.
Yeah. There's a couple times where it's like, what if he's got something stuck in between his teeth, and this kind of shit. It's like, okay. Which I appreciate. I mean, the sequel could have its own podcast episode, because I mean, it's its own movie by far.
It's much weirder and sillier, and definitely worth the podcast. I think we made the right call in trying to not cram it into this one because there's too much to talk about with the original movie. But my favorite thing about this interaction with between Hoyt and or rather Mr. Peltzer and this kid is like how uncurious he is, where it's like. Yeah. Because he tells them, like, don't get them in bright lights, especially sunlight. That'll kill them. Oh, okay, great. Got it. Never get them wet. Don't feed them after midnight. At no point does he ask why to those two rules. And when he then explains them again to Billy after giving him Gizmo, he also does not, Billy does not say, why? What happens if you do that? Like, wouldn't that be your first question? Like, you've given me this kind of creature I've never seen before. It doesn't appear in any textbook or encyclopedia. Hitherto unknown cryptid, and they give you these rules, and you don't ask what happens if I feed it after midnight.
Well, and do you remember Rand Peltzer's response to the kid who explained it? He just goes, "Sure, kid, whatever you say." Like,
yeah,
like clearly he heard because he explains it later to his kid, but like, it's just like. These 3 ridiculously extravagant rules, and you're like, yeah, that's fine, kid, cool. Cat's pajamas, later.
Yeah, it's so weirdly just like, I mean, I guess if he told him, he would say, no, thanks, no monster multiplier for me, you can take him back. Then there'd be no movie, but even if he had just said why, and the grandson said, I don't know, my grandfather won't tell me, he just said, never ever do it. That would have solved the equation. But as it is, you just get no dialogue on that, which is funny to me.
Yeah. We got to talk about so then we go into the first thing we see is Rockin' Ricky Rialto doing like a Indiana Jones thing, which is one of many Spielberg references in this film.
Yeah, that's the billboard that we see for like a local radio station. And you're right. So we get like the movie theater with the 2 movies on the marquee are the working titles for E.T. and Close Encounters, which is fun to Spielberg. I guess Spielberg produced it, so not a surprise there. But we get this is like, it's, I forget what they call this town, but it's basically Bedford Falls from It's a Wonderful Life. It's a very, bucolic, quaint little town.
Yeah, man, now that... I think it's a Falls as well, something Falls. Damn it, I thought, how'd that get out of my head? Anyway.
Not important. Small town America.
But it's made to look like that impossibly perfect Americana, right? Snow everywhere, no messes, no problems, children playing and strangers running around and this and that. So it's really going to juxtapose the horror onto this town that you're like looks like the middle of a snow globe kind of thing.
Yeah, it definitely is the perfect town, and they give us our only or kind of our main human villain. Pretty early on, we get Mrs. Deagle. She really looks like Carol Burnett. I would love to see how Carol Burnett would have played this. I'm sure they couldn't get her to do it. But God, she is so awful. It's wonderful.
Mrs. Deagle?
What?
I just wanted to let you know that Joe got himself another job. My husband, Joe Harris, and I've taken up some sewing on the side.
Mrs. Harris, what are you trying to tell me?
I'm afraid that neither one of us will be paid for 2 weeks. Couldn't you get Mr. Corbin to just give us a little more time?
Mrs. Harris, the bank and I have the same purpose in life, to make money, not to support a lot of deadbeats.
Mrs. Deagle, it's Christmas!
Well, now you know what to ask Santa for, don't you?
Yeah, and I mean, she literally openly threatens to torture a dog to death in a public place. Like, oh, is this the bad guy? Okay, great. Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, but not only does she threaten the dog, there's like other people that are there in the bank that are like, yeah, you should do that. They're like seconding her. Like, what?
Whatever Mrs. Deagle wants, man. She runs the town.
Yeah, it's. I mean, and again, this is sort of straight out of the Wizard of Oz too. To go to like another small town movie moment that I'm sure that reference is not lost on Joe Dante to try and make this as Mrs. Gulch as possible.
Oh yeah, and she's definitely the Wicked Witch of the West. Like there's so much symbolism on that. I'll get your little dog too. That kind of stuff. Pretty on the nose.
I forget what he did too. He broke the snowman or something in her yard. Her like fancy schmancy. Belgian snowman.
My new Bavarian snowman imported from blah blah blah. Yeah.
Well, maybe you shouldn't put something that expensive out on your lawn.
But before she even does that, she like this woman and her coughing child are like begging for an extension on a bill they owe her, and she's like, "Fuck you!" Like,
yeah,
she like they make her the worst. She is. You want to write a bad guy, you nailed it.
Yeah, she is the combo of like Mr. Potter, Ebenezer Scrooge, Mrs. Gulch, like all of these villains from those reference points. All rolled into one.
Absolutely.
They give her no redeeming qualities at all. And we meet Billy here, our protagonist.
Yeah. Billy. I was literally going to talk about Zach
Gilligan.
Yeah. One of two budding stars in this movie that never really did a whole lot in Hollywood compared to what we assumed they would.
The other one being Phoebe Cates.
Yep.
Yeah, she had already done Fast Times at Ridgemont High by this point. And, secured immortality between that movie and this one. I like them both in this movie. I find Billy a little odd in that not because of Zach Gilligan, but because it just sort of seems like the script doesn't know whether he should be the age he is in the movie, which is like early 20s or late, very like 19, or should he be like 12?
Right, yeah, he's got a very Charlie Brown kind of childlike demeanor. And I mean, that might be intentional because, he draws comic books, he reads comic books, he's got his 3D glasses, he watches sci-fi. So maybe that kind of infantilization or so of like the male artist plays against, like the Judge Reinhold, like the douchey business guy.
Yeah, I don't know, because he's also really good. His best friend is like Corey Feldman, who at this point is probably like 9, or 10.
Maybe.
I don't know. So I don't know how that's supposed to work. I had, for some reason, I got it in my head that Corey Feldman was his little brother, but he's not.
Nope.
So
just your 19-year-old buddy up with a 10-year-old like you do.
Yep. I had so many 10-year-olds as friends when I was in my late teens.
No.
So yeah, it just, like I said, I feel like there's like probably different iterations of this script that are like bleeding through to the final product. That's my best guess as to why that's like that. Because I could totally see this movie working with Billy as a 12-year-old protagonist. Then it's more like Monster Squad or one of those kind of movies, but it still works. Or he could be like he is now, and it could work. But there is sort of like this odd in between aspect to like, what do you want him to be exactly?
Yeah, right. I was going to just talk about Fetterman. We mentioned him a little bit earlier, but we see him when it's very subtle, all the stuff that doesn't work in the movie, or at least it was subtle to me at first till it's kind of pointed out. But it starts with Billy's car doesn't work, and he's like, damn foreign cars. And what is the car? It's a VW. It's a German-made car, not Asian. But he's like all foreign cars.
Yeah, when they make a character like him who's very America first, they're not going for accuracy. My racism requires no facts or bounds. But yeah, he ties everything in. Like, there's still some kind of pathos to him. Like, it's all tied into this what's clearly unresolved PTSD from World War II.
Clearly.
Gremlins. You got to watch out for the foreigners because they plant gremlins in their machinery. That's the same gremlins brought down our planes in the big one.
Big one.
That's right. World War II. Good old WWII. They're still shipping them over here. They put them in the cars, they put them in the TV, they put them in the stereos and the radios you stick in your ears. They put them in your watches. They got little teeny gremlins for watches.
I don't think it's such a good idea that you drive. Why don't you walk home?
Katie, I think maybe I'll walk home.
Good.
That's a nice night.
And he's right. he's the classic example of the crazy sounding guy who is the only one who knew the truth.
Right. Yeah. He's when he talks about encountering these gremlins in World War II, you have to wonder to yourself, did he actually come across like mogwai during World War II, or is it something else? But you're right. He is that trope of like the crazy guy who no one believes, who turns out to be right. That's a good trope.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So Rand comes home with the new pet, and we meet Gizmo for the first time, voiced by Howie Mandel.
Bright light, bright light.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that for a long time, but I liked Bobby's World, his cartoon, growing up as a kid.
Oh, me too. I was a big fan. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I finally learned that, I'm like, oh yeah, Gizmo's Bobby Jenrick. It's the same voice. Like it's right there. But there's a lot of good voice actors in this movie. Did you see who did all the voices for the Gremlins? Like, there's a few names in there.
No shit, right? I was looking at that list. It's a monster list.
Yeah.
Uncoincidentally, unpunny. I don't know.
But you've got Peter Cullen.
Yeah, huge voice actor. All these guys had ridiculous resumes.
Yeah. So Peter Cullen, Optimus Prime from Transformers, best known for that. And you've got Michael Winslow.
Sure. Motormouth Jones.
Yeah, from Police Academy, the guy who makes all the funny sound effects. And, of course, Frank Welker, who is in every cartoon ever. And
right.
is best known, oddly enough, for doing a lot of these, like, sort of odd animal noises. So, like, one you'd know is he's Abu in Aladdin, the monkey. He's, I also believe, Slimer from the Ghostbusters. So it's a lot of, like, like that stuff. But yeah, he's really good at like animal noises, guttural sounds, unusual things that a person should not be able to do with their voice. He does. So those are the three I recognize from the list, plus Howie Mandel. But still, some heavy hitters on the vocal side for the Gremlins.
Yeah, I didn't know those until looking them up just for doing this podcast. I was like, dang, they packed a punch. With relatively low lifting, like there's not a lot of dialogue from the Gremlins. Only a couple of scenes where we really hear them.
Yeah, they barely talk. Where it's once in a while you get Stripe with like hello Billy, but not much.
Yeah,
it's mostly just noises from them. But you need a lot of it because there's supposed to be how many thousand of them there are.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's funny, you've got this pet and he just falls in love with Billy right away, right? Even though he gets hit with bright light twice. So we're supposed to love Gizmo. Like, he's cute, he sings, he immediately cuddles into Billy's arms, and it's like, okay, we like this guy. It's pretty on the nose.
Yeah, I mean, they do make him like the cutest animal possible. He's sort of like if you mixed a King Charles Spaniel and a koala bear, you'd sort of get what Gizmo looks like. And I think they redesigned him for the second movie and made him even cuter. The funny thing is that the crew hated him because the puppet is pretty small, and the crew kept saying, "Well, can we make it bigger?" Because the problem was the puppet would keep like breaking and not working. And because it was because it was so small, it was very delicate, and so they got really frustrated. And so there's that scene late in the movie where they have like Gizmo on a dartboard, and that was like the crew's idea, because they just sort of came up with ideas like, how can we quote unquote torture Gizmo and get back at him for ruining our day, for being a difficult
nice.
But yeah, he is like nuclear level cute.
Yeah, and that voice is like perfect. Like Howie Mandel nailed it.
Yeah, this little like Ewok creature, they're so he's so sweet, and I love that, like, when things start to go wrong, he doesn't really talk very much. He's like E.T. Like, he says like one word here and there, but like you can read his face. They do a really good job with puppeteering his face to like let you know that like he knows, oh no, it's happening. I know where this is going.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the puppeteering in this movie was all around. There's a lot of scenes with the Gremlins and the Mogwai, and I think they're all very well done.
Yeah, extremely. The special effects guy behind this is Chris Wallace, who has come up on this podcast quite a while ago. I did an episode on The Fly very early on. That's all Chris Wallace's puppetry and work. What a fucking genius this guy is with practical effects. Really, really impressive. And all on display here. This is like for a I don't think this is a Jim Henson joint. And for a non-Jim Henson puppeteering job, it's out of the park.
Yeah, that's what I assumed too. I assumed, this must have been a Henson thing, and when I discovered it wasn't him, I was like, "Whoa, this guy's good."
Yeah, and it's a lot of puppet. I mean, there's a lot of puppetry in this. Like that scene when they're in the movie theater towards the end, and there's they're all there and they're all moving at the same time and doing different stuff. You must have had 50 different puppeteers on all of the Gremlins to make that happen. It's incredible.
Yeah. So as you allude to, Gizmo is the sweet one, but once he gets wet, there are no more sweet ones.
Yeah. And I'm glad the movie doesn't do like what this weird novel did and try to explain why that's the case.
Yeah.
And in my head, I felt like he had Gizmo for longer before things start to go wrong. But like, it's literally the next morning they start fucking up the rules. Corey Feldman comes over and gets him wet. Yeah. And I think by that night they've eaten, right? I think they break the midnight rule by the following quote unquote.
I think is it that night or it's not long after.
It's not long. Yeah, I think Billy's literally telling Corey Feldman no, don't get him wet. Wet. It's real close. And
Corey Feldman messes up everything.
I like the scene where Gizmo quote unquote births the other mogwai. Not because it's entertaining
really
to watch. It's well done. You can see it looks the the quality of the puppeteering. It looks incredibly painful for Gizmo. You can tell that it physically hurts, but also it psychically hurts him. He's like, oh no, this is bad. You can tell he knows this is bad.
Yeah, yeah, and this is really kind of the first horror moment of the whole thing, and the music kicks in a little bit, and it's just those pulsating, little fluff balls. We don't know what they are yet, and it's I thought it was really well done of the tension they build.
Then they watch them; they kind of unfurl like popples, if you remember those toys.
Yeah,
from the 80s.
Yeah,
yeah, but with mucus in there. There's enough to as you said, they're selling the horror of this. And they're not letting you in on the idea that there's going to be a comedy in here. This is not played for laughs. This is all played for horror.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they're all born. And what does the inventor father want? I'll sell him. I was like, stop it, Rand. Stop it.
Yeah. Again, the lack of curiosity or you should be extremely worried about what just happened.
Yeah.
you got them wet and they reproduced. You got 6 more of them over the course of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
At no point does fear or curiosity kick in about what this might cause. He's like, yeah, I want to disperse this pathogen and make money selling these creatures.
Yeah. And then, of course, as you said, they trick Billy into feeding them after midnight so that they can become from mogwai to gremlin. Those sneaky bastards.
Yeah, they unplug his clock, which is funny. I hadn't watched the movie in so long that when that happened, it fooled me to a degree of oh, okay, this is a fake out, right? That they're eating, and it's 11:30, and I'm supposed to be worried, but I'm not, and it's actually the next night it's going to happen or something. This is the setup, not the moment it happens. So it actually tricked me. It was even though I've seen this movie, oh shit, right. But I knew something was up because the way they filmed them, eating that chicken voraciously and kind of gross. Okay,
yeah.
This is the moment.
Yeah. Well, and, again, I didn't think about this growing up or anything, but now that I know kind of what the movie's about, they're always doing something with technology, right? So it's they knew enough about a clock to where if they pulled the plug at a certain time that it would work. And it's oh, yeah, they are the gremlins, right? They're ruining all of our electronics.
Yeah, throughout the movie, we'll see that they'll do things that are again, traditional gremlin ideas, even though it's how should they know what the rules are? But they know to eat after midnight, right? They've been alive for all of, 15 hours, and they know what to do. They know how to operate, all of these kinds of machines. The movie doesn't need to explain this stuff. This is just what they are intrinsically.
Spoiler alert for the second one, they do kind of hint at that they have memories that transcend their deaths and rebirths. which is very interesting because like the one gremlin like remembers the microwave, and it's like, how do you remember that gremlin died? And you're like, whoa, maybe they have this like psychic thing going on.
Interesting. Yeah. We'll definitely have to save Gremlins 2, the new batch for another podcast down the line, because there's a lot to unpack with that. Just go watch the Key and Peele sketch. But getting back to Gremlins 1 here. Yeah, things unravel pretty quickly. I really like that. Like we get the moment where he takes the one gremlin off to the local scientist, which is really funny. Like he's just high school science teacher. This guy will know what to do with a gremlin. So he sticks him in a cage and tries to, or I guess he does extract blood from him. I thought maybe that was going to go somewhere other than just like eventually the gremlin, kills him. But I don't know. I thought like we were going to get a scientific discovery about them, and we never do. Even in the second movie, I don't think they ever like try to approach like, oh, we figured out their weakness, or we found why they multiply, or none of that.
No, I didn't get any of that. But it was their first kill. It was the first body in the movie, and which kind of set up the horror that now Mrs. Peltzer is stuck in the house with a bunch of them, and this one already killed a teacher. So, like, I liked it on that just because I loved the effect of hearing the film, play out, and while he's like teasing him with the candy bar, and then he just fucking kills him. It's like, I was like, that was very horror for me. I dug that.
Yeah, again, edited absolutely 100% like a horror movie and not a comedy. We jumped over the creepy H.R. Giger cocoons that these things go into.
Sure,
they transform. Because I'd forgotten how gross that was. I was like, in my head, it was like they eat after midnight and they kind of disappear, right? They go hide under the bed somewhere, and then the next time we see them, they're gremlins. I'd forgotten about this cocoon stage, which is like appropriately gross.
Then I want you to bring the vacuum cleaner upstairs for me. What are they?
Well, they're the mogwai, I guess. Except for Gizmo.
Did you get them wet or something?
No?
Did you feed them after midnight?
Well, I gave them some chicken. But I made sure that it... No, wait a minute. I made sure... Mom, what's going on here?
It's pretty gross, and it's very similar to Alien.
Yeah, you can't not think of the alien eggs when you see these like weird kind of misshapen turd things on the ground that they're inside of. Because there's like some sort of like webbing around them. Like it's not even clear how they do this. They just curl up in a ball, I guess, in this form. It's like, who knows? I think in the second movie they just skip right over it. They don't even bother. I think they transform pretty quickly and like, yeah, let's get to the gremlins.
Yeah. I don't even remember at this point. But yeah, so we see those gross things, and they're like asking questions, but not really. They're like, what's going on here? Like, I would be freaking
again, at some point,
out.
But a government agency needs to be called at this point.
Yeah. Right.
Even if it's like local animal control, somebody's got to go like, all right, we need specialists in. This is too fucking weird. This is too scary. Like if I came into the room and there were those like cocoons lying around, I'd be like, I'm out. I'm done. Burn it, kill the fire.
Nope. But then we get one of the most epic fight scenes in the history of sci-fi horror comedy.
Yeah, this whole thing with
Peltzer.
Billy's mom. First of all, I think this is the first time I'd ever heard that song. Do you hear what I hear? Which I think is like Burl Ives.
Yeah, same.
It. So I always associate that song with this movie.
Same, 100%.
So now that song always feels creepy to me, even though I'm sure it's not meant to feel creepy.
Yeah.
It's just a Christmas Carol.
Yeah, no, I agree 1,000,000%.
I love how this is shot because again, it's like that couple of steps of reveals. Like we all know they've hatched. And she's in the house alone, and they do that bit where, like, you see its shadow ever so briefly, They kind of slowly reel you into this moment when she finally walks into the kitchen and they're there. It's great.
Yeah, and again, we know they're murderers, not just because of the soundtrack, but because one already killed, so we know, she's in trouble. And then she says, "I am Lynn Peltzer, bitch," and just kills 3 gremlins in 3 very creative ways. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, well, she gets lucky that one of them already just decided to stick its head in a blender because they're not the brightest creatures.
Sure.
And then she managed to get one into the microwave, which is super gross. The way that they have that thing just like unspool. It's not quite an explosion. It's like a little more in slow motion than an explosion. Yeah. It's like a geyser of goo that happens inside this microwave. It's really awful.
I was thinking like a 7th grade volcano science fair project kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the last one she just stabs to death with a big knife, right?
Is that it? Yeah. The microwave, the blender. Yeah. I guess that's it. Yeah.
It's just so like expertly done, the thing. And then the last one, like it pounces on her, and then Billy comes home and lops off his head with a sword from the wall.
With this into the fire. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Just a great, like, it's horror, action, and comedy. You're right. Like it's rare that you kind of get all those in one spot. Maybe in something like Ghostbusters, but Ghostbusters never goes too far into horror. It pretty much stays in comedy the whole time.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Comedy and sci-fi, yeah. No, this does a good job with the horror, especially, and it's like we were talking about Miss Deagle earlier. It's funny because she's like this horrible bad person, but when it's in her house, like we're kind of rooting for it, but we're also, they kind of set it up pretty scary.
Christmas carolers. I hate Christmas carolers. Screechy voiced little blue sniffers. I warned you, Brad! What are they? They're here. Oh, they've come for me. They've come. I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready.
Yeah. We're jumping ahead a little bit to get to her death, but like one of the funniest things in the movie is her, they mess with this like chair lift that's on her spiral staircase, so that when she finally sits in it, it goes at like 1,000,000 miles an hour and just goes rocketing out of her window, and you just hear her screaming as she flies through the air and lands in the snow. Again, feet up, like kind of Wicked Witch of the East.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like that scene, like you almost feel bad for her at first, because like it's like, all right, she's an awful human being, but nobody really deserves to get killed by a bunch of mogwai.
Yeah, but the way that they did it, it still felt like she was trapped in her house and they were coming in, and I remember still feeling like a little scared, even though like I didn't care about her particular survival. It did feel kind of like scary just to think about being in her situation.
Yeah, it's a home invasion. It's what it's a very scary home invasion by these menacing creatures, and like she plays like because she's so mean all of the time when you see her, and then here she's like all that front is down, and she's just shrieking and is in utter terror. She sells the shit out of it. She's a very good actress. I don't have her name handy, but she's great.
Yeah, Polly something. I looked her up. I don't remember. But yeah, we skipped some stuff. Whatever. Of course, the bar scene, that's epic.
Yes, this is when. So we get to the point where eventually Billy goes chasing Stripe out of the house after he's attacked his mom. they follow the tracks to a YMCA where eventually he jumps into the pool, and this sets off mega multiplication.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love, again, like the sound design on that scene where like you've got like the churning, bubbling pool, the smoke, the lights, and then there's just like these like unnatural sounds. That again, played for horror, really scary.
Yeah, just a confluence of sights and sounds that were perfect for that moment, 100%. And, I mean, it just builds up that, like, like, oh, man, if a few drops of water made 5, what the heck is an Olympic-sized swimming pool?
Yep. Again, one rule we're not caring about is the law of conservation of mass. We don't know where the flesh for these new gremlins comes from. They just multiply forever. Not important. It's not like Stripe has to go like eat at the buffet to make enough gremlin fuel to make these things. But super gross. I think they outdid it in the second movie with that scene where they turn on the fire sprinklers.
Sure.
I think it's they one upped this, but this is really great. Like again, that deep blue and like the scary kind of green flashes of light. Like it's menacing as fuck. Like it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's like the horror movie went from small to huge, and now they're going to be everywhere.
Yeah, it's great. And we get this wonderful like montage of them menacing various people in the town. Not just Mrs. Deagle, but you get the Futtermans getting snow plowed.
Yeah,
and again, like right, he bangs on the TV. It's not working. There's something wrong with the antenna. There's gremlins up there messing with that. So the technology stuff is coming in. They're fucking with the street lights.
Yeah. And the cops don't believe Billy, of course. They tell him to shut up and go home.
I think eventually, what is it that convinces them? They see Mrs. Deagle go flying through the air. That happens right in front of them. And I think gremlins attack their car or something, right? It's like...
Well, there's a Santa Claus. The guy who'd been playing Santa Claus, he had gremlins all over him. And, like, he falls on the hood of their car. And they're like, what?
Right.
But then they mess with their brakes, so they're screwed. And you know that, not the sheriff, but the deputy, you know who that was, right?
No.
Oh, that was Breaking Bad's own Jonathan Banks.
Shit, I knew he was in this movie somewhere. He's so much younger in this movie. And like Mike Ehrmantraut on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul is just this shriveled, not shriveled, but he's this old blobfish looking guy. God, I did not put that together. You're right. That is Mr. Ehrmantraut for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow. All the actors in this movie, like, there's no weak links. Everybody does their job very well. It's impressive for a cast that has relatively few big names in it. You've got like Judge Reinhold doing relatively little in the film. You got Phoebe Cates, who was known, so that's one name, but everybody else is kind of just character actors and stuff, like not huge draws.
Yeah, no, and which is also kind of telling of the horror genre, right? Of like not necessarily a lot of stars, especially in a first film, right? Sometimes a horror movie makes someone a star, but like they don't usually cast a lot of stars.
Well, they have a lot of heavy hitters behind the camera, right? You've got Steven Spielberg executive producing. Joe Dante is directing. This is not his first thing, but a known director. You've got Jerry Goldsmith doing the music, who's like a big time composer.
The music is worth talking about because that music is so good. The themes for the Gremlins, the theme for Gizmo, like you said, the horror moment with the pool and the unnatural sounds, like it is just, I think, through and through, because you've got the soundtrack mixed with the score, and I think they balance each other out really nicely.
Yeah, Jerry Goldsmith, I don't have his credits in front of me, but again, no slouch. I mean, a major composer. And what I love about the Gremlins theme, that theme that he does, it's almost like a horror movie version of Jingle Bells, like to the point where like the Gremlins they show up at somebody's house and it's the image that's behind you on your screen right now. They're caroling, and that's what they're singing. It is like a demented Christmas carol.
Yeah, I wonder if that is like, can you make us a demented Christmas carol? Yes, I can.
It might even be one of those things where they did some musical math, and it's like if I take the melody of Jingle Bells and then I invert it, and put it in a minor key or something, he transforms it that way, because it's got kind of the same, like, not quite cadence or rhythm, but it's close. Yeah,
and then of course Gizmo's theme.
Yeah, that's
Beautiful.
really sweet. I think there was an early version of the film where he was supposed to turn evil. Like he would, he seems cute and then he goes evil and multiplies. And I think it was Spielberg who wisely was like, nope, audiences are going to love this thing. You can't do it. And so Gizmo has to be, protected and part of the movie. He's on the team through the end. And he saves the day at the end, too. We haven't gotten there yet, but he gets all the hero moments, too, at the end. More so than Billy, even, in a way.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that because, he's clearly bullied by his, offspring or whatever. And the fact that he is the one that kind of puts him down, that's warms the old heart.
Yeah. So we're getting closer to the climax, but let's talk about a couple of things that happen before we get there. Number one, we got to camp out on this insane monologue from Phoebe Cates.
Oh my God, it's so crazy.
Now I have another reason to hate Christmas.
Okay, what are you talking about?
The worst thing that ever happened to me was on Christmas. Oh, God, it was so horrible. It was Christmas Eve. I was 9 years old. Me and Mom were decorating the tree, waiting for Dad to come home from work. A couple hours went by. Dad wasn't home. Mom called the office. No answer. Christmas Day came and went, and still nothing. So the police began a search. 4 or 5 days went by. Neither one of us could eat or sleep. Everything was falling apart. It was snowing outside. The house was freezing, so I went to try to light up the fire. And that's when I noticed the smell. The firemen came and broke through the chimney top. And me and Mom were expecting them to pull out a dead cat or a bird. And instead, they pulled out my father. He was dressed in a Santa Claus suit. He'd been climbing down the chimney on Christmas Eve, his arms loaded with presents. He was going to surprise us. He slipped and broke his neck. Died instantly. And that's how I found out there was no Santa Claus.
Her acting is great, and it's like there's no hint of irony. It is just straight played for drama.
Yeah. I mean, this whole thing about her dad dying on Christmas by trying to shove himself down the chimney it's so outlandish. And on the one hand, it sort of doesn't fit the tone of the movie, and yet it sort of does.
Yeah, right.
It's a very odd decision to do this. Like, I don't want to, like, you've had this character say, I hate Christmas, and then you find out this is the reason why. And I'm not sure what it adds to the movie. It's very weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it. I don't know why, but I mean, it's really gets to know Phoebe Cates' character the most. I mean, it's the most revealing thing about her. And, we get to know her a little bit ahead of time, but I think it really helps pay off the love story between the two of them.
Yeah, it definitely gives them something to bond over, for sure, because now she's had two of the worst Christmases ever. So what this reminds me of, so for the last 2 years, one of my wife's friends hosts a Christmas party on Christmas Eve. And as a tradition. And so for the last 2 years, because we each have 2 kids, and all of them are like the same ages, roughly grouped together. Mm-hmm. So they're all young. They're all under, 7 years old. So Doug gets to dress up as Santa and surprise them at the Christmas party. And every time I do it, I've now done this twice, I think of this monologue, not because I tried to go down a chimney, because I'm not an idiot, but but it's still like, yeah, I'm dressing. I just, anytime I think of like, oh, Dad's going to dress up as Santa, this comes to mind immediately.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. No, it's an epic monologue. If I was, older when I saw the movie at first, I might think it felt out of place. I'm not sure, but it never seemed out of place to me. So I was just always like, that's Gremlins.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh at it, but like, it is like an intrinsic part of the movie now. I know there was some behind the scenes stuff about them pushing to like, you should cut this monologue. And Joe Dante was like, nope, it stays in the movie. And they're like, okay, we'll trust your instincts, Joe. This is your movie. You make it how you want. So he's the one who pushed for it. But I don't know what it was specifically that made him want to keep it in there. It's a great character moment for Phoebe Cates, but it is very just odd.
Yeah.
And then you touched on this the bar scene. We got to talk about this.
Oh, yeah, the bar scene. I mean, so much puppetry's going on, so much symbolism, so much, like, hijinks. A lot of the jokes really take place in the bar scene.
Well, this is when I was talking about, like, you think you're watching a horror movie, and then some of the, like, this is some of the stuff that would, like, they would, like, double and triple down on in Gremlins 2. But, like, you have this, like, gremlin who's wearing a little trench coat, being sort of Humphrey Bogart at this table. And, like, you're already, like, supposed to be like, well, wait, where would he get this little trench coat from? Why would he know 40s movies references? Like, it's just, you don't, and it's again, like, don't think about it. This is just Looney Tunes time now, to the point where I think there's even, like, Looney Tunes sound effects that you hear in the mix.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you get I like one of those, but there's stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's like a Three Stooges moment. Right, and then there's like, where'd he get a gun? There's so many things that are like, yeah, it's just a cartoon, just enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's the fun of them wrecking the town.
Yeah. And seeing like they're not evil. I mean, they are evil, but they're more just like party animals that have no care about the consequences of extreme partying.
Well, yeah, because like Phoebe Cates is in the bar. She's still trying to bartend to these creatures. They could rip her limb from limb. They could easily do that or try, but they don't. They're just happy to just be in there and goof around. They might give her a hard time, but they don't actually like inflict violence on her.
Yeah. But she gets away because of the use of flashbulbs.
Yep. I mean, this is where the rules are good to have, right? You got to have a way of turning those rules around to be on your side. And this is their one weakness. We already know they don't like bright lights. So They do stuff where like the cars headlights pull up and that will daze them for a second. It's effective. Like, it works.
Yeah. And then I think with the movie theater scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is kind of a continuation of the bar scene in terms of like, Looney Tunes stuff from them. They're all just like singing along. I can't believe they got the rights to use the clip from Snow White that they use.
Disney was not what it is today back in 1984, apparently.
No, they were struggling for cash in 1984. They were coming off the Black Cauldron and like really having some problems in the 80s. It was they were
like, you want to give us money for this? Go for it. Go.
Yeah, it would be a few more years before like Alan Menken would come to the rescue and fix things. But even still though, like, it's just very, very funny to watch the Gremlins all just like they're what does he say? Like, they're watching Snow White and they're loving it.
And they're loving it.
What are they doing?
They're watching Snow White. And they love it.
Yeah. Singing along to Heigh Ho, Heigh Ho, it's off to work we go.
Which I wonder if that's also like a comment on like, they love our, like, even though they're foreigners, they love our culture. Like, that's the one thing that we always export is our culture.
Yeah. Although it's a German fairy tale, so I don't know if,
Oh, interesting. Even more layers to that onion.
Because I feel like the idea of a gremlin is a sort of a German idea, or like comes from these wars we had against Germany. So maybe there's like a German kind of bent in there. I don't know. Like Snow White, it's kind of funny. Like, it's not a movie you think they would gravitate towards. Like 70% of that movie is about how important it is to tidy up.
Yeah, the original Marie Kondo. Yeah.
I mean, I've watched that movie. I mean, I got young kids. I've seen that movie, and I'm like, okay, so she starts the movie. She's mopping, by the wishing well, and then she escapes and she goes into the dwarf's cottage and she cleans it up, and they come home, and then she makes them go wash up. So we get a whole song about them washing their hands, and then they like the whole thing. It's just a lot of cleaning in that movie. Anyway,
a lot of cleaning,
which is the one thing, of course, the Gremlins are the worst at. The opposite of cleaning.
Yeah, but they managed to take him out by blowing up a movie theater.
Yeah, it's a great. I love those like shots of them kind of like behind the screen, and you see it in reverse and stuff, and they're like clawing through the image.
Really well done. Very scary imagery.
Yeah, very. Again, I love how they're able to just ride that gear shift between like comedy and horror when they need to. It's really neat.
Yeah, of course. Big bad Spike gets he's not in there, so they've got to have a final showdown in the Sears or the department store or whatever.
Yeah, and again they give this to Gizmo, I think, right? We see him earlier in the movie watching this like race car footage from some old black and white movie, and then he gets to drive like a Barbie car.
Yeah,
it's great, and he's the one who like drives. He kind of hits at the right moment to jump to the release that opens the sunlight above them that fries Stripe. It's cool.
And his death takes so long, and it is so well done. Like, whatever kind of special effects made that happen I'd put it right up there with like The Thing or American Werewolf in London, or any of these like just amazing practical effects.
Well, again, like this guy would go on to do The Fly, like again, some of the greatest practical effects in any movie ever. And yeah, that scene of Stripe melting in the sun is so gruesome. and it takes so long, and it feels so like real. Like they really do a good job of selling like, yes, this is what happens when these things hit sunlight. Absolutely just gross to watch as he like slowly just disintegrates and melts into this fountain.
Yep. And then it ends with the original.
I was gonna say they do the horror movie trope, right? They do that one more scare because his skeleton like jumps out of the fountain and like wheezes and then dies and melts some more until he's totally gone. Like it's really
yeah. He's not dead yet. Oh no, he really is though. He is dead.
Yeah. And then go ahead. We'll talk about the ending here.
And then the end, the original Chinese shopkeeper tracks down Rand Peltzer and is like, "I told you that this is too much responsibility for you. You're not ready. I'm taking him back."
I love that he says something like, "I this is the Chinese guy I bought him from." And he's like, "Purchased." Interesting choice of words.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I love this guy who plays Mr. Wing is the character's name. I heard that I guess he was 80 years old, but he was in such good shape they had to still put old age makeup on him.
Oh wow,
which is amazing. And yeah, I love that he really just kind of states the themes of the movie. He's look, you're not ready for this. You do what everybody does. All you Americans do to the natural world. You abuse it. It's great. Like, yeah, they don't deserve to have Gizmo. They're clearly not responsible enough to be mogwai owners.
Yeah.
I warned you. With mogwai comes much responsibility. But you didn't listen. And you see what happens.
But I didn't mean it.
You do with mogwai what your society has done with all of nature's gifts. You do not understand. You are not ready. Yes? He has something to say to you.
You mean you understand what he says when he speaks to you?
To hear, one has only to listen.
But it is a nice ending when he's like, perhaps one day you'll be ready. It leaves it open for a sequel, which of course we do eventually get. And then, Gizmo's really like, hey, even though all this happened, I love you, Billy. I'm like, oh.
Bye, Billy. Because his last line, right?
Bye, Billy. And you're like, he loves him.
But yeah, that's Gremlins. He takes him and walks away, and then we get one more bit of narration from Rand Peltzer. We didn't talk about Rand Peltzer's own little odyssey where he goes off to this like convention.
The convention. Yeah, and we get a brief moment of seeing Steven Spielberg in frame.
Yeah, he's like in a cart or a golf cart or something. He goes in front of the frame for like a second.
Yep. Yeah, then we see H.G. Wells' time machine, and then it cuts back, and the time machine is gone, and there's a puff of smoke, and people are like, what happened?
Yeah, I love that, because I never noticed that before I watched that in this movie, and I recognized the time machine immediately, because I loved that movie growing up. I watched it a bunch, and I love that design. That time machine design is real cool. So my eye was on it this time. I don't think I ever noticed it before, like, oh, that's a really funny gag that the time machine, I guess, is real. And disappears. Yeah. You also get Robbie the Robot from Forbidden Planet and many other sci-fi things, Lost in Space.
Yeah, and I didn't know about that until I watched that YouTube video that we saw. But yeah, it was pretty nuts.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that in the episode notes so you can click on it. This person did a breakdown of all the little Easter eggs in the movie and stuff. But it is funny, like that they get Rand out of the way for all of the the shit going down.
Yeah.
And then he gets to come back and like, oh, what happened?
Again, I wonder if there's some commentary on like he's the one that introduced the problem, but he didn't have to actually deal with the problem.
I think there is. I think that's a great observation that, yeah, he dodges the responsibility for any of this.
Yeah. Such a good movie, and I think the sequel it's different in many scopes, but I think it's I was glad we had it, and I'm still glad we have it. I don't rewatch that one as much as the original, but it's definitely a favorite.
I think that one has had a critical reevaluation over the years, that people have realized, like, okay, you were expecting more of this, and it's just different. It's not doing a different thing. It's weirder. And like, yeah, there's a lot of shit in it that makes no sense, but you're supposed to recognize, okay, this director is not going for that. You're not meant to view it that way. It's almost like we sort of got two, like, both of them are blends of horror and comedy, and this one is way more horror and that one's way more comedy. But yeah, I'm glad it exists. We'll definitely do an episode on Gremlins 2. We're supposed to get a Gremlins cartoon this year on HBO Max. That has been a while. Yep, it's been a while in development. I know Zach Gilligan is in it. I don't think any of the other actors are in it, but that's not surprising because from what I understand, it's a prequel and it takes place like in the 40s. So maybe Zach Gilligan is, narrating it, or, part of a framing device or something. And I don't think Howie Mandel is reprising Gizmo either, but we'll at least be getting some additional Gremlins content, in theory, here in 2023.
Ooh, anxiously awaiting.
Yeah. So, Rich, now that we've kind of recapped the movie here, why do you think that this movie has remained, here in our zeitgeist? Because it only got the one sequel. There hasn't, until now, there really hasn't been any revisiting of it in any in-depth way, but I feel like everyone who's from our generation forward, they all know this movie and they all love it.
It's just so well done, and the reason why Spielberg bought the rights to it to executive produce it is because he said it's the most original thing he'd come across, and I still think it's one of the most original things. Like, how many other sci-fi horror comedies ride that line really well, have original characters, that don't feel like a carbon copy of some other genre. It's not like another zombie film or something like that. And it's really this like moment in the mid 80s that we haven't done better than, I don't think. And so it still serves as that, like, oh, this is how you do this kind of movie.
Yeah, I think there's a big part of that it is so unique. There's really nothing else like it because it occupies this weird spot in the middle of the Venn diagram of the like 9 different genres it's trying to do. It's doing all this stuff, and you get the like bonus of it being a Christmas movie that makes it, and if you happen to land on a good holiday like that, people will bring it out every year. And I think if this was a Halloween movie, people would talk about it. It would say, "Oh yeah, let's watch a horror movie." It'd be in the mix, the same, with all the other kind of horror movies that you would bring out of Halloween. But because it's a Christmas movie, it's like, there are very few Christmas horror movies. I know they've tried to do it with like Krampus, and there was that Violent Night thing last year, but that's more action. So it's sort of like, it really is one of a kind. So it's like, I want a little Halloween in my Christmas, and I don't mean, Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. I want an actual horror movie. And so, where else are you going to go? Like, but it is entertaining on its own merits, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just, I still love rewatching it.
I had a great time going back to this, and we're like, oh man, it's been so long since I was really looking forward to revisiting it because it's good to have an excuse to do it. And it's still fun. I think my kids are a little too young for it, but my oldest is getting close, so it'll be fun to show her this and let her feel like she's watching a grown-up scary movie when in fact she's watching little green puppet Looney Tunes stuff. sneak one by her the way it was snuck by me.
Nice.
Yeah. Rich, thank you so much again for doing this. This was a delight. Can you tell our audience where they can find you?
Thanks as always for having me, Doug. Love being on your show. You can find me at Rich Baker Coaching on Instagram or Facebook, or www.richbakercoaching.com for improv classes. Doesn't matter where you are because they're online. It's the most fun you'll have on Zoom.
Damn right. And to do a little admin on our side, of course, if you like this podcast, go to Apple, iTunes, or Google Play or Stitcher, wherever you found this thing. Give it a nice review. We'll read those on the air. If you have feedback on our recent episodes, which would be this one, most recently we did Final Fantasy VI, and before that, Power Ballads. So, but anything you want to write in about, of course, let us know. Tweet that feedback to @NostalgiumPod on Twitter, or you can also find us on Instagram. Send us a message there. And got a few cool things coming up, hopefully. We've still been talking about doing that Animaniacs episode. Hoping we can put that together soon. We're also going to do one on Pokemon relatively soon, I hope. So that'll be fun to talk about that mega franchise. So good things in the work, of course. And until next time, that is one more entry in the Nostalgium Arcanum.
After midnight, we're gonna let it all hang down. After midnight, we're gonna chug a lug and shout. We're gonna stimulate some action. We're gonna get some satisfaction. We're gonna find out what it is all